Hello, my name is Bradley, and I'm your host of The Internal Game. So, before I found Law of Assumption, I had found Law of Attraction. And nothing wrong with it, nothing wrong with anything for that matter. But I had fell for the idea that I had to be really, really happy, really, really high vibe all the time before I could manifest anything that I wanted. Um, and of course, me trying to be happy, which I wasn't aware of this at this time, but trying to be happy just reinforces your unhappiness. Trying to be positive just reinforces that you're not. Right? And now that I know the state of being is king and how things go, like wanting a positive experience is not a positive experience because you're implying that you're not positive, right? And it was just really troublesome back in the day. And I was trying to raise my vibe, trying to uh, just force my way into like high vibe states, and it was becoming a problem. And I remember thinking, man, I'm never going to get anything, I'm never going to get whatever. Uh, and it was so baffling to me because I was like, man, I know some people that have quite a bit of money, even a lot of money, and they're not happy all the time. They're not high vibing all the time. I remember thinking, man, I know people in relationships, like good relationships, they're not happy all the time. Does that mean that like if they just are not happy, they're gonna lose their relationship? Like I know people that have good jobs and are healthy that aren't happy all the time. I remember thinking this. And I was like, so what is there something wrong with me? Like how am I not getting this? And I just remember feeling really down on myself. And then of course I find Law of Assumption. I'm like, hell yeah, right? It's just about what I assume to be true. I don't have to be happy at all, and which actually helped me because I was like, now I can be happy that I don't have to be happy. Right? It was like it felt like a big weight off my shoulders. And then I dealt with the Neville called the old man of the Bible, the old man, right? That's what Neville talks about anyway. It was just the Bible, pretty much, and how he proceeded into like levels of consciousness and desire and states of being, things like that. But nonetheless, I would get pulled. I was like, okay, I'm gonna assume a new idea of self, and I'd get pulled back into the old. And I was like, man, damn, this hard. And then I'd see success stories, people that did it, affirming they did it. I'm like, how is there something wrong with me? Is there something wrong with me? Or I tried to, when I was trying to manifest my life, and I'd affirm, and try to live in the end. And I was more so reminded that I didn't have her, and that I wasn't in the end, and that like I was still incomplete, and thinking that there was something wrong with me. And I don't want to get too dark, but I really did think something was wrong with me, and I was like, man, maybe I'm never gonna get this. Is this life really like something I want to be in? I remember thinking that. Like the two things that I thought were gonna save me, like Law of Attraction in the beginning, then like Law of Assumption, and I was like, man, like I actually feel worse than before I found out about these things. And I was like, and that's kind of hard to do because I was pretty low. And luckily for me, I was able to get a grip on the idea that I was not my mind, and that my mind was the one causing all the issues, and think that there was something wrong with me, and that I wasn't perfect already, and that like I wasn't gonna get things, and that other people were better at certain things, and things like that, and that's why I talk so much about like it's just a thought, because this old man, right? Like this old man, this old version of self, whatever. Like, and again, things aren't old if we keep being them, if we keep doing them. They're not old; they're current, right? So if we keep getting pulled back into this old thing, then it's not old anymore. So like, the issue is we keep believing the thought related to this old identity, which is nonetheless an identity, something we have identified with. And one of the best things I ever did in my entire life was get in touch with the person, or the being part, right? Because who is this person that has to identify with something? Because again, no matter if the identity that you're in is favorable or unfavorable, it's still an identity. It's something that you have identified with. And when we find like Law of Assumption, like, okay, we just need to change how we see ourselves. Give ourselves new identities. Right? Still an identity. Still comes with the fear of being threatened. Still comes with the fear of loss in this identity. All this stuff. Because it's not who you are. So if you are trying to make changes from like an old identity to a new one, or if you are trying to like just kind of like if you're struggling, if you're suffering, fighting mind all the time, then A good idea is to question the mind, to not buy into it altogether. Like Eckhart Tolle said, like there's like, because everything that you have in your life right now that's unwanted, that you do not want, that you're trying to run away from and trying to change, all this stuff is there from fear. Fear. The assumptions that you hold about something, and fear of something, or in fear of losing it, and fear of thinking it's got or that it was a way that wasn't favorable to you, and then it turned into that. And instead of like exploring all these fearful manifestations, we need to go to the root, and that is believing mind. Because I can promise you, this old man that you're struggling with, like going back and forth, like what you're struggling with, is because you're buying into thought. That's it. That's it. And a lot of times we find ourselves in these patterns, and patterns are hard, like they can be sometimes a little bit challenging to break, especially when we are unaware of the pattern. So like, when you get thoughts that are coming from these identities, like, oh, this isn't working, or like, this works for everyone else but not me, or I'm unlovable, or like, they're gonna leave, or this person's probably with this person, and like all these thoughts, if you say that's just a thought, because almost 100% of the time you're used to thinking thoughts like this, or at least in that ballpark, that are coming from beliefs from this old man, these unfavorable beliefs that this old version of you has. That's it. So when you start saying like, that's just a thought, that's just a thought. And even if that thought if it seems really, really convincing, you're like, oh, I need to think about this. You're like, oh, that's just a thought. That's just a thought. That's just a thought. Oh, I suck at this. That's just a thought. But if I don't text the person right now, then they're gonna think that that they're not a priority, and they're not gonna text me back. And if they don't text me, or if I don't text them, I'm gonna lose them. That's just a thought. That's just a thought. Oh, but what if they're doing this and that? That's just a thought. And I mean this with everything, because when you start doing this, you're going to realize that you never had to buy into all the thought in the first place. And not only do you not have to buy into it anymore, you're going to see how you've been being. How you've been being. And if you can see how you've been being and not identify with that, then you're like, there's a difference between observing how you've been being and identifying with it every time you get a thought. Like, oh, no, no. Because once you identify with the thought, then you're being that way again. You're identified with the thought. You're identified with that way of being. You're identified with how that state sees itself, or how that version sees itself. If you can observe it, you have choice now. And say, oh wow, I have been people pleasing. Oh wow, I have been really needy. Oh wow, I have been upset. Oh wow, like I could see those thoughts that I haven't really been buying into, and I could see that like that was a person who didn't really like themselves. It was a person who was really fearful that a person was going to leave them. I can't believe I was thinking so often about how much this person wasn't going to like me, or how they were going to leave, or I can't believe I was thinking so often about how I was going to run out of money, or that like I wasn't going to get any, or that my job, there was no opportunities. And like you're going to start really seeing how you've been being, how you've been thinking. From this space, an observer place, you can choose anew, because you're no longer identified with it. If you're just trying to go from one identity to another identity, one identity to another identity, you're just going to keep getting pulled, because you're still buying in a thought all the time, just buying in a thought. Okay, I'm chosen, I'm chosen, I'm chosen, I'm chosen, I'm chosen, I'm chosen. I'm this new version, I'm chosen, I'm chosen, I'm chosen. You get a text message just like, I wouldn't date you if you were the last person on earth. And you're like, oh no, they said they wouldn't date me if I'm the last person on earth. What am I doing? I must be doing something wrong. Oh my God, when did this happen? What belief do I have? Like, I was just saying I was chosen. I thought I was in the state of the wish fulfilled. You just bought into the whole thing. The first thought that came from that, you bought into it and ran with it. That's just a thought. That's just a text message. It means absolutely nothing. If anything, you want to look at that as an opportunity to say, oh, okay, that's the old person dying off. Like, that's the last of it. Cool. I actually am a chosen being. I actually am a priority, because I choose myself, and I'm a priority in my own life. I'm not going to torture myself with fucking unnecessary negative thinking. I'm not going to believe that I'm my mind, especially a shit one. And I'm going to walk in this kind of knowing and live my life. And then you start doing that, and you get a thought that's like, well, it's been a couple days now, and you didn't respond to that text, and maybe you should though, because maybe they're not thinking about you anymore. And if you send them a text, then like that's just a thought. That's just a thought. But what if they're not thinking about me anymore? That's just a thought. What if they really meant that? That's just a thought. Was it something I did? That's just a thought. Then again, you can see, okay, that's that old man trying to rear its head. That's how that person was being. I don't have to identify with that anymore. I can see it. I can see it. And guess what? The less you buy into this old man's story, the less you buy into this old man's thoughts, the weaker and weaker and weaker it becomes. And guess what? Your brain's only going to focus on what you have said is important to it. That's it. If you stop buying into the story from the old man and looking at it as irrelevant because it has nothing to do with you, it's going to die off. It's going to stop fucking with you. It's just like, oh, you've been like, sorry, bro, we've just been thinking that this was important because you've been thinking about this forever. You've been thinking about yourself like this forever. And Tony Robbins said, like I've talked about before, like the strongest force in the human psyche is to remain consistent, or is for the human mind to remain consistent with how it sees itself. If you're making changes, it's like, no, that's kind of scary. We got to be over here. If you don't buy into it, if you can observe the thoughts, if you can observe the way of that way of being and how you were being, and just observe it and say, no, that's not what I want to do. I'm actually going to do this now, and not identify with it. You'll make a fairly smooth transition. Things need you to identify with it to matter. If you do not identify with it, it does not matter. Stop buying into thought. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with you. You do not have to change from one identity to another identity to be perfect. What you do need to do is give up all the ideas and all the reasons why you're not perfect right now. And I can assure you that if you condemn yourself, the world will condemn you. And if you accept yourself, no matter what that may look like, the world will accept you back, because life makes no mistake and always gives man which man first gives himself. There's actually nothing wrong with you. You don't need to be fixed. You don't need to heal anything. But you do need to accept self and think that you're perfect right here, right now, and you are. Don't let the world out there tell you that you're doing something wrong. Don't let the world out there tell you that you need to be fixed. Don't let the world out there tell you that you need to be whatever. And even if you did, it's because you believed it and bought into it, and now you're chaotic, trying to change, trying to be perfect, which is implying, just like in the beginning of the video, when you're trying to be perfect, you're implying that you're not. And all that matters is what's happening right now. If you're saying that you're not perfect, then you're not. If you give up all the reasons why you're not perfect and don't buy into them and claim your perfection now, you are. You always have been. And when you start creating space between you and all these thoughts from this old identity, you're going to see the humor almost in it. I mean, it's not funny like some of the things that you've created from those spaces, but like it is like, wow, I was just buying into shit that didn't matter at all. Like none of those things are me. They're just thoughts. Literally just thoughts. A thought, like a thought about myself that I believed. Another thought about myself that I believed, and none of those were of any type of benefit to me. And that's what happened out there. Then I projected all that stuff onto somebody else and they reflected it back. Nonetheless, thought. When you can create that space and see it for what it is, you don't have to identify with it anymore. You don't have to identify with a mind-made self. Do you hear that? A mind-made self. A self-concept. It's a concept. An identity. It's an identity. You want to get involved and start to get in touch with the person, or with what it is, not a person, with what it is you actually are. What was it that identified with the mind? What's beyond the thinker? That's what you are, right? So if you're struggling, if you're feeling like manifestation has become a fucking job and strugglesome, and probably even use the word toxic right now, and just of you trying to change and feel like you're doing something wrong, and there's something wrong with you, and that like if you just got to change your self-concept, and then you won't have any more problems anymore, then why don't you try just a thought? Because your thoughts are coming from how you see yourself, from your beliefs, from your state of being. Instead of trying to force a different one, why don't you just look at how you've been being, how you've been thinking, and when those thoughts come up, you can say, oh, that's just a thought. You can see it, oh, that's just a thought. That's just a thought. Don't identify with it, that's just a thought. I don't care how much it wants to pull you. It's got some momentum probably, right? That's just a thought. It's used to you buying into it. That's just a thought. When you stop believing it, it is no longer a belief. And you're going to find much stability by not buying into a bunch of shit thoughts that you've been buying into for a long time. And from that space, from the spaciousness within you of observing an old identity, instead of keep going back to being the old identity, right? And the current, instead of going back to being it, you observe it. And then as you observe it, you can say, oh no, I don't want to be that way. No. That's not how I want to do things. I'm going to do things like this. I'm going to consciously choose anew instead of keep falling back unconsciously into an old pattern that is nothing but like thought patterns that you've identified with. That's it. It is not who you are. It's never been who you are. And you are so powerful that even you believing that you were this person, you were. And then you experienced what came with you believing this shit version of self, which is still just a version. If it was really who you are, why would it be just a version? If it was really who you are, why would you be able to change it? Anything that's real, it can't be threatened. And when you stop buying into mind and believing that you are this mind-made self, you'll get in touch with what's real. And you will not feel threatened. And then you can start choosing new experience. You can start choosing how you want things to be instead of believing that you're a thought. Feeling scared. No need to explore. And you don't even need to pay attention to all the manifestations and like, oh, this happened because of this and this happened because of that. And like, oh shit, like no. Question the thought. Recognize it, just a thought. Recognize it for just that, just a thought. Don't identify with it. You'll find stability here. When you're stable, you're no longer fearful. Tell the story how you want things to be. But for the love of God, do not buy into thinking that you're doing something wrong, or that there's something wrong with you, or that like that this is a big struggle. It's not. You don't have to struggle. You just have to stop buying into something that's not you. Even a more favorable version of self, even a more favorable identity is still not who you are at a core level. God consciousness. That's what you are. And yeah, you get a different experience when you have a more favorable concept, for sure, and more in favor, but it's still just that, a concept. It's not who you are. So like, once you can start getting out of mind, observing how you've been being and not identifying with it, you can let it go and choose anew instead of trying to and then getting frustrated, making the state worse by realizing that you're not in a good state and it's pissing you off. It's like, man, I'm never gonna get this thing that I want so bad, and then this is happening and da da da. Oh my God, why can't I figure this out? I suck. You do not have to do that. Create some space. It's just a thought. You do not want to be walking around here scared of everything, especially a thought. Don't let the mind convince you into get you into another identity that there's something wrong with you because you can't figure this stuff out, or that like other people can do it and you can't, or or even that I'm different than you. I'm not. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, don't buy into mind shit, no matter what the story. So if you're having trouble, I'm gonna say it again, if you're having trouble with the old man, going back to the old man and identifying with the old man, then you need to create space. You don't need to force it. It's gonna make your state of being feel worse. And a lot of times you're gonna think there's something wrong with you, or that you're not doing something right, and it's not true. Like, you just have to. It's just another thought that you believed in. You just need to you need to create some space. Just a thought. 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 You'll see which thoughts that you have without identifying with them, and then you can say, "Oh wow, That's how I was being, instead of identifying with being it again. And then you can let it go, and then that momentum's gonna slowly, or maybe not even slowly, it's just gonna start to fucking die off. And then you're not gonna have that problem anymore. And then now you've also proven to yourself that you're not your mind, so you don't have to buy into shit really at that point. And then you can start choosing experiences from this spacious, still, whole place. From there, live your life. Love you guys. I love you, and I mean that. You're perfect right here, right now. And sometimes for us to realize that we're perfect and already happy and it's to give up all the reasons why we're not. That's it. It's not about adding shit. It's about like realizing that all the reason, all the story that we're not perfect and not whole and not good enough and all this stuff right now, not valuable, all that story that we're not that is bullshit. And just a thought that we've identified with. Let it go, and now you are. See you soon.